guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a discussion video on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the illustrated edition by J.K. Rowling, and it is illustrated by Jim K. This is my all-time favorite series, and I am so excited that this book came out. It gave me an excuse to reread this book, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of discuss with you guys my thoughts on the book. It's been a while since I've reread it. There are some details that I noticed this time rereading it that I hadn't noticed before. I will give a quick synopsis of this book that is going to be spoiler-free, but after that, this video will contain spoilers on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone because I can't really discuss it and tell you guys my thoughts and feelings towards this book without discussing certain parts, which does lead to spoilers. So if you have not read this book, I highly encourage you to go read it. It is really a great book for all ages, and it is amazing. I recommend getting the illustrated edition because it is beautiful, and the pictures inside are also beautiful. I did want to quickly mention that the writing style is very sophisticated, yet it's easy to follow. The plot moves along really quickly, and there's a lot of action scenes and there's not a lot of boring moments. So it's definitely a book that's fast-paced and should keep your attention, and it should grab your attention pretty quickly. Okay, so Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is the first book in the Harry Potter series, book 1 out of 7 books, and we follow our main character Harry. He is orphaned at age 1 and he goes to live with the Dursleys, who are his mom's sister and her husband, so his aunt and uncle, and his cousin Dudley, who is the same age as him. As Harry is growing up, his aunt and uncle are extremely mean to him. They don't like him at all. He sleeps in a cupboard, he is not fed properly, not clothed properly, and Dudley is quite a bully to him. Well, one day Harry gets a letter in the mail, and he has been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So Harry now learns that he is a wizard, and he goes to Hogwarts to study magic. At Hogwarts, a whole bunch of crazy stuff happens. We learn about Harry's parents' death, and we learn about the mysterious lightning bolt scar that he has on his forehead. We are introduced to professors and other important characters that we follow throughout the entire series. It's just amazing. That's pretty much all I can say. That's really spoiler free. Alright, so let's move on to the discussion part of this video, and this part will contain spoilers. So once again, if you have not read this book, you may not want to watch this video, or maybe this video will be kind of the push you need to read the series. So the first thing that really hit me when I first started rereading the book is how young Harry is and how much his life sucks. I mean, he's 11 years old, and the things that he has to go through in his childhood is horrible. I mean, he lives in a cupboard, his aunt and uncle are terrible to him, he's not allowed to ask questions. I mean, what kid isn't allowed to ask questions? He's not properly fed, he's really emotionally abused, and his cousin, who is twice his size, bullies him, and just poor Harry just has a really tough time. And then he has to deal with all of this crazy magic stuff that is kind of going on. I mean, he is 11. I'm 26 years old, and there are things that I wouldn't be able to handle that, you know, he had to go through. I had completely forgotten that this book starts in the perspective of the Dursleys. They are an ordinary family, and they don't like anything that is out of the ordinary. They like everything to be normal. They don't like anything abnormal or magical. After the first chapter, when you learn how they really treat Harry, I mean, I don't care how normal they want to be, I hate the Dursleys. They are just cruel and mean, emotionally abusive. I did not like them. And Dudley is a brat. Oh my gosh, I forgot how much of a brat he truly is. But I do love the photos of Dudley in the illustrated edition. Here's him when he's a baby. I mean, he's just so pudgy. Jim Kay just really drew him perfectly. I love this picture of Dudley in his uniform. I also want to quickly point out this picture. This is one of my favorite pictures in the book. Just the detail in this picture is just stunning. So the book really starts to take off when Harry gets a letter in the mail from Hogwarts. Harry has no idea what this letter is about, and he is unable to read his letter because the Dursleys keep taking the letter away from him and they burn it, and it doesn't matter how many more come in the mail, they just will not allow Harry to read this letter. When Harry first went to go get the mail and when he first got the letter, all I kept thinking in my head and screaming is, hide the letter, hide it. I mean, they don't properly feed you, they're not gonna let you get mail. Hide the damn letter. And then there's that scene where all the letters come flying out of the chimney and the mail slot and from the windows. Uncle Vernon goes crazy and says that they're all gonna go away, and he ends up smacking Dudley. I love that scene. I completely forgot about that, but it really got a laugh out of me because it doesn't matter how spoiled this bratty kid is, Uncle Vernon still smacked him in the face. Loved it. So the next pretty important scene after that is when Hagrid and Harry meet for the very first time. Hagrid goes to find Harry and finally deliver his letter, and we are introduced to some pretty important aspects of the story. We learn the word Muggle for the first time. We also get a little bit of insight as to what happened with Harry's parents. Plus, we get to see Hagrid use magic on Dudley, and he gives Dudley a pigtail, and this is probably one of my favorite quotes of the book. I wrote it down. Hagrid basically said, he meant to turn him into a pig, but I suppose he was so much like a pig anyway, there wasn't much left to do. That was really funny. So Harry finally gets his letter saying that he's accepted to Hogwarts, and they go to Diagon Alley to get all of his supplies for school. And these are also some of my favorite pictures. These are the pictures of Diagon Alley, but the detail in these pictures are just beautiful. Flourish and Blot's store, and there is the store to get all their robes. While Harry is in Diagon Alley, we are introduced to a very important character, Draco Malfoy. Malfoy is so vile, and it really hits you from the beginning. He's such a prick. Oh my gosh. For an 11-year-old, I have never wanted to smack an 11-year-old so badly. I mean, the things he says, he's so close-minded. My first impression of Draco hasn't changed. There's another really important scene in Diagon Alley, and that's when Harry gets his wand. We learn that Harry and Voldemort's wand are kind of connected because the phoenix tail feather in Harry's wand is the same phoenix tail feather in Voldemort's wand, and that part is really important. A lot of things happen in the books because of the connection between Voldemort and Harry's wand. And then we move on to one of my other favorite scenes, and that is when Ron and Harry first meet. It is just so fun to see their relationship just from the beginning and how they had that instant connection to become friends. It was really, really sweet and fun. We're also introduced to Hermione, of course, and I forgot how snooty she is. She really is. I mean, she just gets so badass as the books progress. But when we first meet her, she really is snooty, and it's like, oh, Hermione, that's kind of why you don't really have friends, because you're just so black and white and by the book. But she really does develop for the better as the book goes on. She learns to be more brave and courageous, and she learns when it is appropriate to break the rules. Ron and Hermione are two main characters in this series. Even though Harry is the main character, Ron and Hermione are still extremely important. They make decisions that influence a lot of things that happen in this series. The friendship between those three is a huge part of this book, and it's one of my favorite parts. There's a beautiful picture of Hogwarts in this book, and it's really eerie and a little kind of mysterious, a little creepy to be quite honest, but kind of gave me a little bit of goosebumps. Hogwarts is the main setting of these books, and it just, yeah, it gave me goosebumps when all the kids first arrived. Then we meet Professor Mcgonagall, and she is my favorite professor at Hogwarts. She is so by the book and so black and white, but when it counts, she will break the rules. For example, when Harry becomes the seeker for Gryffindor, she breaks the rule about first years not being able to have their own broom. And speaking of brooms, we are introduced to Quidditch, which I love. I know I'm gonna say I love all these scenes, but I really do. I love so many parts of this book. The funniest part, I think, is when Oliver Wood tries to teach Harry about Quidditch, and Harry says something like, oh, so it's kind of like basketball or soccer, and Oliver, he's like, what? What are those? He has no idea what those sports are, which is really funny. Oh, and another thing that I want to mention, and this is more of a funny, ironic, like Harry, Neville, Ron and Hermione get in trouble for being out at night, and they get caught by Professor McGonagall, and her of all people send them to detention at night in the Forbidden Forest with Hagrid. Hagrid, who couldn't even take his pet dragon to the rooftop to give him to Ron's brother. No, he had to make 3 11-year-olds do it, and Hagrid is supposed to keep them safe in the Forbidden Forest while some evil creature is slaying unicorns. Like, it didn't make sense to me. I also forgot to mention Snape. He just seemed more evil in this book. His character is so complex, but in this book, he's really evil, and he really hates Harry. We think that he is jinxing the broom at the first Quidditch match. You know, he's not, which brings me to the person who is, and honestly, I was surprised. And rereading it again and trying to pay more attention about, like, knowing who the, I guess, evil villain is, I am still surprised. J.K. Rowling doesn't really make it that obvious, unless I'm just completely missing it. Let me know. Comment down below. Let me know if you knew that Professor Quirrell was the one behind it all, trying to steal the Sorcerer's Stone, because I honestly had no idea the first time I read it, and every time I reread it, I still don't see that it's that obvious. Maybe it's a little obvious because he doesn't shake Harry's hand when they first meet, and they mention how he goes away and he comes back and he's all a stuttering mess, and he has these encounters with Snape. We think that Snape is trying to get Quirrell to give him the stone, but really Snape is on to him about it. Everything points to Snape, which is the point, you know. Maybe now that I'm talking about it, it's a little more obvious that Quirrell was the one behind it all. Alright guys, this video is probably going to be long enough as it is, so I should probably start wrapping it up. Comment down below, let me know your favorite parts of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Let me know if there's any part that really stands out to you or really kind of sticks with you and is really memorable and kind of gives you goosebumps. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time with another one. Bye!